I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati.
Hello, guys. Happy Friday. Give me just a second. I forgot to tweet. Shoot. I forgot to tweet out that I'm live. Oops. Okay. All right. Happy Friday. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Roundtable and Friday for the Sabby Show. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Welcome. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, and Twitter. So, what are we talking about tonight, you guys? Actually, let me shout out Patreons real quick. Let me shout out patrons. Where did it go? There it is. All right. Shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, you guys. You can see all of their names are here. I have 4 different categories. You can be a member, a Sabby, a Sabster, or the ultimate. Guys, thank you so much. You can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So, all right. What are we talking about tonight? Let me go ahead and share my screen, show you my thumbnail. Where are we? Okay. All right. Tonight, we're talking about Nick Brana speaks to Sabby. I'm actually waiting for Nick to join. And we're going to talk about Breaking Point lies about Russia and Ukraine. That's an interesting story. And we are also going to talk about Amazon protesters arrested. So that happened, unfortunately, with Chris Smalls. I want to get into that story. I think it's ridiculous that he was arrested. I don't think he did anything wrong. So we're going to get into that as well. So I want to go ahead and give shout out to some people in the chat. Oh, there's a lot of chats. Lots and lots of chats. I don't know if I can go all the way up to the top here. Oh, shout out to Kit Cabello from Hardlands. Keep on doing the outstanding work, Sabby. Thank you so much, Kit. Welcome. We love Hardlands. All right. Shout out to Robert, who said, I want to see how this interview is going to go after what happened on Status Coup today, where Nick made a fool out of himself. Oh, boy. Shout out to Dan K. Meme says, hi, Sabby. Please ask Nick tough questions about MPP mismanagement, $20K logo, and board purging. I was extremely disappointed by Jimmy and Jackson not holding Nick accountable. Thank you so much for that. Shout out to Love, Rain, Thunder. It seems every group will be infiltrated. I hear what you're saying. I hear you. Oh, Nick is here. Okay, here I go. Let me add him to the stream. Hello, welcome.
Hey, Sabby. Great to be with you.
All right. I do have to, let me make sure I put the screen up on the right. Okay, I did. Okay. First and foremost, I do want to let everyone know, like, Nick and I have never met before. So this is the first time, like, we're actually meeting. Just want to put that out there. I, for one, am 100% for third parties. I know if you're new to my channel, you may not know that, but if you do watch me, you do know that. I talk about that a lot. I'm against the duopoly. And I also want to make it known, because I think it's only fair that you guys know this, that I did find out recently who the accuser is. I cannot mention their name. There's things that go along with this, but I think it's only fair to let you guys know that I am aware of who that person is. I've reached out to the people involved. As you guys saw a couple days ago, one of the volunteers came on. Obviously, I reached out to Nick and I reached out to the accuser as well. They are not ready to come forward. So just letting everybody know that I reached out to the parties that are involved. So with that being said, I want to let everybody know I am not judge and jury. I am not. This is me simply asking questions. There are certain questions that I do need to ask, but I want you to know that I'm not here to tell you whether or not someone is innocent or guilty. That's not really my place, but I am here to ask the questions, and I wanted to make sure that everybody gets to say their part. So, Nick, I want to go ahead and get started with, I want to hear from you. So it was reported that you were under investigation for sexual harassment. And some of the board members I was able to talk to one of the board members. But some of the board members said that they were removed, or they feel they were removed because they believe the accuser. And I wanted to give you a chance to respond to that.
That's not accurate. They were removed because they drew up a plan which was illegal, which was found by our general counsel to be illegal, to remove me and then to remove other members of the board and dozens of delegates in the National Organizing Committee with whom they disagreed with politically on the direction of the party. They wanted it to go in a more liberal direction, whereas the party is more populist and has been for a long time. And so that was the motive that they had. And the reason, in fact, that with our general counsel at the People's Party, we were so shocked to learn that, in fact, that's what they had in mind. This was an action that, if they had gone through with it, to purge dozens of people across the party, leaders in states across the party on the National Organizing Committee, where we're currently creating the charter for the National Committee, it would have destroyed the party. And that was so shocking that that was the final straw. But that was just, there's obviously a lot of context before that I'm happy to go into.
When you say that they wanted to take the party in a liberal direction, can you explain like what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. The messaging of the party had been shifting for a few months preceding these events. In particular, it corresponded with us bringing on additional contractors who were working with the party, who had a more identity politics focused kind of vision for the party and message for the party. And they were using the social media and the communications platforms to communicate that. Now, we are, as a populist party, there are thousands of people across the country who have inspired with that message, who've come in on that basis, who've donated on that basis, who have volunteered on that basis, and they were very alarmed with that shift in the message. And so when that was brought to the attention, that became increasingly evident, including one particular contractor who in our Slack, which we use as a team communications platform, was attacking volunteers continuously, calling them racists and white supremacists and sexists, really frivolously. Every single disagreement was reduced to an identity politics attack. And it resulted in that individual receiving dozens of grievances, that paid contractor, and also culminated in a petition with dozens of people signing for her removal. But individuals on the board who opposed the remaining populists who supported this transition to a more liberal message and orientation for the party and mission for the party, away from class solidarity and uniting left and right, they opposed any accountability for contractors, and they protected that individual who was abusing volunteers. And again, that was part of the reason that that we ended up having to really take the action of remove those. And I'll say again, with the guidance and counsel and advice of multiple lawyers and law firms, including our general counsel, who determined that what they were trying to do was not only illegal, but it was really incredibly morally unconscionable, and it would have destroyed the party. And I can give you other examples of that shift. There's two other big examples. Just let me know if you want me to go into them. I'm happy to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The first is that at the same time, while these allegations had been made against me, which within a couple weeks, the committee determined by majority that really the allegations were not substantiated. The accuser was asked for evidence repeatedly and did not provide any, was not able to provide any, and ultimately stated that in fact she did not have any for the specific allegations that she had made. Following that, though, the investigation as a result of that, it was only supposed to last a week or two. And it was a thorough investigation that would involve interviews of her and other people who'd been kind of tangentially around us, and also taking written statements from us. And so the organization did its due diligence, and I think that was appropriate. Anytime there's an accusation like that, it needs to be taken very seriously. And so I don't hold any of the colleagues who decided to launch that investigation at fault whatsoever. They took the appropriate action with that. It's what happened next and what we discovered on the special committee, and what the committee that was investigating found that really was the issue. They found that there wasn't evidence for her charges against me, but rather that the charges had been essentially manufactured in a call between two board members and two contractors in early December. And at that time, they also concluded that in fact it was politically motivated. They used the word coup, two of them. And that really changed the course of the investigation, because then an investigation that was supposed to last only 2 weeks and presented those initial findings of no fault, no merit to these claims, was then politically hijacked in a way that it hadn't even been before, even though it was politically motivated from the beginning. And it was extended week after week after week for 2 months, with the seeking someone else who should be interviewed, continuous revisions of recommendations, even though it had already concluded. There were the board members who were opposed to me, who wanted me removed from the onset, and the contractors as well, continuously prolonged it for political reasons. So at the same time that this was happening in January, and at the end of December, we were going through the National Organizing Committee, which is a process by which we've brought together dozens of delegates from across the country to deliberate the charter and the bylaws of the party. And so they've been elected, sent from their states. There was a particular provision, some provisions that were advanced by this group of board members and contractors that were more liberal in nature, and that many people thought would compromise the party, not even just ideologically, but potentially in its ability to remain independent from Democrats and Republicans. So to give you an example, there was a provision advanced into the charter of the party that stated that had it been approved by the delegates, it would have permitted registered Democrats to hold every single seat in our state committees, the highest authority in the states. And it would have also allowed registered Democrats to have a supermajority on a national committee. Anyone who does this work will tell you that you are the target of a massive amount of infiltration. I think you were talking about that earlier. It's something that the left and the populist movement has really had to grapple with. March for Medicare for All, Force the Vote, really have been, I think, teachable moments. And to pass a provision supported by these contractors and this more liberal faction on the board that had also launched the allegations against me, that was very, very alarming to the delegation. And in fact, it was shot down overwhelmingly by a landslide vote that provision. And it was then that they realized that in fact, the party and the National Organizing Committee and the delegates in the National Organizing Committee, along with the broader membership that had elected me in November, that they were populist and that they did not share the ideological orientation of these board members or these contractors who were taking the party in a more liberal direction with their messaging. And at that point, the escalation reached really a new level. And that's when these plans were drawn up to, in fact, purge the party of populist leaders, these National Organizing Committee leaders that were elected from their states to come and create the charter. And that's what was so alarming. And the other big example is this faction's attempt to block the party from taking a position on COVID-19 mandates. And so this faction prevented the national, our board, from allowing the membership to decide this issue, which is the issue that we hear from people who write into the party, from people who write on social media. They ask us about this issue more than any other issue, what position we have, or when we're going to take a position, or do we support the truckers, all these kinds of things. So there's been a big, massive demand and conversation going on in the party for months, and really there's been obstruction on the board on allowing the membership or deciding it ourselves as the board on what the party's position in that is going to be. And so they were very upset when I proposed allowing the membership to do it. They voted that down. Soon afterwards, I proposed it directly to the membership. I said, this is the People's Party. It's not right that we're not going to take a position on this. We're really 6 months behind the entire populist movement on this issue. You see individuals such as Kim Iverson, Russell Brand, Breaking Points for the most part, Jimmy Dore, lots of the most popular podcasters and independent media figures out there. This is one of the biggest things that they cover. And it's one of the things that unites a left and right coalition together best, most effectively. And of course, there's also the facts that the science and the politics and all of it just sides with the reality of opposing mandates. And so they blocked taking that position, and they were again infuriated when I proposed that, in fact, when I took it directly to the membership in our Slack, and I said, in fact, that we are not going to censor the membership of this party. We're not going to shut down this debate, which our members have been clearly asking us to have. We're not going to, again, being approached constantly by volunteers saying that they're alarmed by the shift in the messaging. And that also incensed this group of board members and contractors who sought to remove me and lay the groundwork for the plan that they ultimately created to purge the party of all of their essentially political opposition, everybody who disagreed with them, and ultimately led general counsel and others to advise that they needed to be removed.
So you said that there was a coup against the allegations against you. Do you have any evidence to prove that conversation took place, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I do. There's two members of the special committee, David Micel and Lise Micels, not related. And the two of them arrived at that conclusion within about a week and a half and presented that. And when the members of the board who were hostile to me and to a populist message and to the orientation that we had and to my involvement in the messaging and all of these various different order holding contractors accountable, when they learned of that, they opposed essentially making any kind of change to that.
So I guess I have to ask, like, why hasn't that evidence been released? Because like this story has been out for a couple of days and it's kind of taken on its own form here. if there's that evidence, why wasn't that evidence released to the public?
It actually was. There's an interview that Jordan Sheridan posted. Jackson Hinkle. It was Jackson Hinkle's interview where one of the special committee members, Elise Meisel's, joined and shared and attested to this. It's also on video that they were discussing that they believed that this is a coup, members of the special committee, which was in fact, it led to a political reprisal on the special committee because they had arrived at the wrong conclusion. The investigation was supposed to be predetermined in the eyes of these board members who had originally fabricated the allegations against me and kind of shepherded and even escalated them when the committee wasn't arriving at the conclusion that they sought. And so it actually has. If you haven't had the opportunity to see Jackson's interview, I would definitely do that. And there's video evidence.
So there's video evidence of this happening. And the reason why I ask about evidence is because just because people say that something was said, like, I mean, like, is there any type of recording that shows that this was plotted?
There is. It is, in fact, that recording that led the other board members to attempt to remove them from the committee, from the investigation.
So when I spoke to a member from the board, one of the board members that was removed, they explained to me that this investigation was still going on. You're saying the investigation ended already?
Correct. It had concluded. The findings had been presented, that there was no fault, there was no merit to the allegations, and in fact, that it was politically motivated. And that was the perspective that needed to be stamped out and suppressed when it was arrived at by these board members who had a different conclusion in mind.
So Jackson Hinkle did an interview, and the recording is on his interview?
The recording's not on his interview, but Elise Meisel's, who was one of the special committee members, attests to it in that interview. And we can find that recording.
Okay, because that's what I'm saying. Because like for me, like people want to see like some type of evidence. I know some things we can't talk about because legal situation, but people want to see or actually hear that recording. So if someone could get that to me, that would be good. Because I can't just go off of hearsay, like that's the thing. But I do want to go into this statement that you issued. So I want to go ahead and share my screen.
Right. I mean, I think one of the biggest points in all of this is that we can't go in hearsay in either direction.
So you issued this statement, and I do want to go over a little bit for this. So this is the statement from Nick Brana. It says, "My friends, I have been accused of sexual harassment. These allegations are false and politically motivated. There's no evidence to substantiate them. In fact, following a thorough investigation, my accuser admitted that there's no evidence to substantiate them. We had been in a consensual relationship that she initiated. This portion right here, my accuser admitted there's no evidence to substantiate them. Is that on record anywhere?"
Yes. The special committee asked that she submit any kind of evidence that her claim of her claims to back up her claims. And for weeks, she didn't. And then eventually she informed the special committee that she didn't have any screenshots or any documentation.
Is there a record of that document somewhere?
I can ask the special committee members. I'm sure that there is.
Okay. If so, and if I'm privy to see it, I would like to see that. I just want to go on for a little bit here. The accuser made allegations.
Happy to follow up with you with those things.
Okay. The accuser made allegations against me to the board in December, 1 week before the start of the National Organizing Committee. Immediately, there were red flags mixed in with allegations were demands for professional advancement and veiled threats to the board that she would go public and attempt to destroy the party if her demands weren't met. Is there any evidence of this? Is this on record anywhere about the threats and that she would go public and attempt to destroy the party?
Yes. Again, I think it would be very helpful, frankly, if you spoke with the two members of the special committee who one of them whom was on Jackson's show, Elise and Dave.
Okay. If I can get in touch with them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Be happy to.
When she made these serious accusations, the board acted immediately and appointed a committee of 3 board members to investigate. After taking written statements, interviewing both of us separately, and examining the evidence, the committee concluded that the allegations did not have merit and were a politically motivated attempt to remove me. They discovered that 2 board members who had confided to others that they had long sought to remove me and take my position had orchestrated the allegations with the accuser and a contractor. This part right here. Okay, here we go. Before anyone had investigated the veracity of her allegations, they treated them as foregone conclusion and personally called and lobbied every member of the board to remove me. The first democratically elected chair of this party, whom you, the membership, chose, instead of running against me in last year's interim chair election or this year's national committee chair election, they tried to remove me through false allegations. The People's Party is a populist party. These board members wanted to convert it into a more liberal and woke party. They had already begun reorienting the party's message away from economic populism and towards identity politics, a transformation that alarmed many volunteers. They were supported by contractors who abused their positions of authority in the party to attack our own volunteers, delegates, and even Ralph Nader, who spoke at the opening meeting of the National Organizing Committee as sexist, racist, and white supremacist for seeking to build class solidarity. Okay, this part here goes into the mandates and the discussion in Slack, which I know that you mentioned. There's something here. I do have a question about this. This group of board members also sought to remove any and all accountability from paid contractors. Paula Jean Swearigan was hired as our West Virginia state director, but failed to bring in a single volunteer or National Organizing Committee delegate during her 6 months with the party. So I do have a question about this because from what I saw, Paula Jean was not removed. She resigned. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I guess I'm just trying to figure out why is she mentioned in this statement?
Because of the first sentence, that one of the objectives of the members of the board and the contractors who orchestrated the allegations against me was to remove any and all accountability from paid contractors. And so individuals on the board had been concerned at the quality or the performance of Paula Jean's work, who'd been brought on as West Virginia State Director as one of her primary roles. And she also ended up organizing regionally. And we asked her for months to organize in the state and help find some reliable volunteers who could help her set up a state hub in the state, as volunteers are doing across the country. And that for some of those to join us on the National Organizing Committee, 2 in particular, where we have 2 per state. Not only did she not find even one, let alone 2 members who could join the National Organizing Committee or volunteers, but it did not appear that she was even attempting to do so. She was reticent to report the work that she was doing, in fact. And as a growing party, and as a party that's bringing in donations, small dollar donations, with a $19 average for people who give $5, $10 a time, I take it very seriously. And other members of the board take it very seriously how our resources are used and what they go to. The people who are paid, and I should be clear, I've founded the party and I've been with the party for 5 years. The other board members who remain have all been with the party for 5 years, except for one, Dave, who's been with the party for 2 years. Not once have we taken a dime of compensation.
So
we chose
her
to hire others first.
When was her accountability removed? Do you remember? Like, was that recent or?
I raised it and others raised it. And when we raised that and questions about the finances as well, that were under the purview and contractual responsibilities of our contractors, of our 3 contractors, that isn't, it is days later when I raised it on a board call, days after I raised those concerns about the finances, about the fact that a finance plan drafted by contractors had in fact not only failed to meet its objectives, but hadn't even been executed, a 3-month finance plan. And also the lack of volunteers and delegates coming in from Polygyne Swearingen in West Virginia, and the way that Sabrina Young was treating volunteers, resulting in those dozens of grievances and petition to remove her. And it was days after I raised that on a board call, particularly the financial questions and the plan that had been drawn up that hadn't been executed, that the allegations were made against me.
Okay. Is that call recorded? Like, do you guys typically record like calls and meetings, or?
No, not the board meetings. We take notes though. And there's an extensive discussion in the notes.
Okay. Let me move down here. Okay, I know I talked about the situation with Sabrina Pena Young. What was the issue? Because I saw that there was a petition to remove her. I see here it says Sabrina's woke attacks on many of you were abrasive, that dozens of grievances were filed against her, more than everyone else in the parties combined, culminating in a petition with dozens of signatures demanding that she be dismissed. What happened there with Sabrina?
Correct. Sabrina, when she was hired, she presented herself in an interview as a populist, that she understood our political message and orientation, that we're, building around class solidarity and economic populism, the kind that Bernie Sanders embodied. But when we brought her on board, she centralized the communications and the social media platforms and the messaging on the social media platforms in a way that that previous media messaging and communications volunteers had not done, and began putting out a message that was more oriented around identity politics, more reminiscent of kind of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party as opposed to populist. And at that time, she also became more and more hostile to volunteers who lobbying charges of sexism and racism and white supremacy to anyone who she had a disagreement with. And so a number of volunteers felt that, I feel like, and I remember one of them writing in Slack, and it was a bit painful to read, because you feel a responsibility being the national chair for what these volunteers are enduring, that they feel like they're paying this volunteer in particular had a recurring monthly contribution. So did others. They were paying the party to abuse them. And so that was one of the reasons that that raising that to the attention of the board, seeking some form of either reprimand or for that to be discussed with her, was something that I sought. But my accuser used the allegations against me to factionalize the board in a way that made it impossible to hold accountable really any of the contractors who were working with us and who were essentially doing so off of the money that our donors were contributing.
Are there, if these conversations took place in Slack, are there any screenshots of these conversations with Sabrina?
Many.
Okay. If I'm able to see that, I would like to see that as well.
Certainly.
Let's get to this part here. When the hostile members of the board and contractors realized that the investigation was not going their way, they encouraged the accuser to escalate her claims. The accuser's original complaint had not even used the word sexual harassment. Let's talk about that. What was the original complaint?
There was an original complaint, and I think it would be best for the members of the Special Investigative Committee to be able to discuss that with you if you'd like that. But the original complaint was sexual harassment was actually a term that was used by the board members when they received the complaint, and that was applied to what she detailed. And they said, oh, well, you know, she's describing sexual harassment. And then she was told to escalate it afterwards.
Okay. It goes on here to say the accusers accusers' complaint had not used the word sexual harassment, but they told her to allege rape. This shocked the investigative committee, and one of the members later told me, every time I spoke with her, I got a different story. Every time I spoke with you, I heard the same thing. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So during the course of the investigation, we were asked to submit testimony, to give an interview. And after these board members concluded that, in fact, it was politically motivated, and they used the word coup, that the charges were politically motivated. One of the contractors advised and told her to allege rape instead, when it wasn't arriving at the conclusion that they had sought.
So one thing I do want to say here, I have to say this for my audience. This statement here, getting a different story. One thing I do have to make people aware of is that that's actually not uncommon with people who have gone through trauma. It's not uncommon for them to kind of like change their story. In fact, Tara Reid went through this as well. But I have to put that out there for the audience that is not uncommon for people who are victims of trauma. Again, I'm not saying Nick is innocent, guilty here or whatever, but I do have to make that statement. I do want to go into this because this is a like I said, this story has it's really taken on a form of its own. And there's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of people talking. You said that the two of you were in a relationship at one point, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, mutually consensual relationship that she had initiated, and she misrepresented that. She lied about that in her statement. She claimed that I had initiated a relationship, but in fact, she had, and there were actually witnesses to that, and that was one of the facts that really raised red flags early on to members of the committee.
Did this relationship happen before or no, I can't ask that because that's right. Shoot. Okay. So there was a relationship between the two of you at some point or another. I guess I'm trying to figure out how. I'm sorry, you guys. There's just some things I can't say because I can't reveal the name. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, so you said that like she initiated the relationship. So I guess she asked you out. Right.
Yes, and also she came to town with one of the other contractors, and there was an action going on in DC, a protest, and the three of us went to that. And then we came back to Rod's house, and we celebrated a successful action. And towards the end of that night, she came and sat right next to me and put her hand on my belt buckle and put her head on my shoulders. And that is what others saw. And the intent was, in fact, very clear. Later on, she tried to kiss me as well.
Are there people who are willing to collaborate that story?
There are 3 people.
Okay. I have a couple other questions, but one thing I will say about the meetings, when I asked like if you record the meetings, my recommendation, always record your meetings. And again, I'm just speaking from experience. Because I'm just saying I've had it happen, not this situation in particular, but I've been a part of organizations and people are like, well, this person said this at this meeting and it was not recorded and we had no way to like back that or prove that. So one of the questions I do want to ask, I want to go back to last year. Last year, some of the volunteers did come out about some of the things that they experienced while they were part of MPP. They've gone on to different shows to talk about this as well. And I believe some of them were removed. I have to ask, like, why were those volunteers removed? And also, why have there been so many members from MPP removed? Because at last I saw, there were like a couple hundred members that were removed.
That's not true. There's never been a couple hundred members that were removed. That was a false rumor that was started last year. When you're doing the work that we do, you have people that come in to our spaces and they're clearly not there to work. They're just there to disrupt. They're just posting about things that have nothing to do with what we're doing, or they are, personally attacking other volunteers. We have a set of community agreements. And in the course of that happening, there's inevitably people that you have to remove from organizing spaces to keep them productive. And anybody who I think volunteers or works in an organization recognizes that reality. And so the individuals who've been removed violated our community agreements. Oftentimes it involves personal attacks against other people, or we had a volunteer recently who was posting firing squad walls and really kind of threatening people with these images of walls and, brick walls, and talking about a firing squad, so that kind of thing, as much as anybody would like to have a kind of space where everybody gets along and you can do, whatever it is that you want, and, you didn't need those kinds of rules. Inevitably, you do need those kinds of rules, and you have to enforce them. Otherwise, the space devolves, and we think, and it isn't productive, and it's unfair for the volunteers that are really there to build something, that are really there to, win Medicare for all, build a major new party, do everything that inspired them to join in the first place. It's not fair. So that's why, we periodically do have to remove individuals from the organizing space, and any organization does that.
So what happened in Slack? Because some of the volunteers, they have been on, and they said there was an incident that happened in Slack where I guess people were asking if white people could use the N-word. And from what I saw, I saw some of these images. From what I saw, it seems like the organizers, who were obviously, I guess, not trying to be okay with that, they were the ones that were removed, instead of the people asking if they could use the N-word. So I guess I'm just, what happened there? Like, it seems like there was some sort of disconnect, and it seems like they were just pulled. Like, I guess I'm trying to figure out, was there some type of communication between, like, you or whoever does the communications? Was there any type of communication to those volunteers before they were removed, or were they just abruptly removed? And why were they removed to begin with?
So the issue that you're referring to is one group of volunteers that brought a petition to leadership, and their chief demand, actually, this was in November of 2020 to begin with. And their chief demand was that we form a national organizing committee to collectively decide what the rules, the bylaws and the charter of the national party are going to be, that we do that as a party as a whole, with elected members. And that's in fact exactly what we're doing now. And we said, yes, that's a fantastic idea. That's exactly what we want to do. in the People's Party. But again, there's individuals who arise who they don't really want that. What they want to do is they want to disrupt the organizing space. They get into personal fights with other people repeatedly. And in this case, what you're talking about, and there's a million small things that you could raise, like, minutia of, because one person comes in and does this, and then it becomes a rumor or a story, and that's going to happen in any attempt to build an independent party. And I think that the conversation has to be had in that context. But anyways, for the specific incident that you were talking about, those individuals who had put forward the petition that we agreed to, what it is that they wanted, collective creation across the party of the National Committee rules and bylaws. They had created a different platform off of our Slack, and they were, siphoning volunteers, trying to siphon them into this other platform, a Discord platform. And at one point in this Discord, which again is not our platform, this is something that some volunteers created and tried to take people into. In that platform, someone used the N-word apparently while singing a song, and then there was a big debate that broke out on that platform, and the debate kind of spilled over to our Slack, but it wasn't even our platform where that happened.
But why were the volunteers that complained, why were they removed instead of the people who were using the word? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I don't understand why they were. So were all of them removed, or?
A lot of different people were removed who were a part of this ensuing fight that allowed nothing else to happen in our Slack. And a lot of people were removed in that case. I don't specifically know who used the N-word, who didn't use the N-word, who was defending it, who wasn't defending it. I know that one of the individuals who was defending it was removed. And so, I mean, there's just so many smears out there, and then once it gets out there, it's kind of, every smear is like this opportunity or attempt to try to cancel the party. Whereas like anybody who does this on a volunteer basis and invites people in are going to have people who come in, whether it's for various purposes or just because, they have some other objective, or, sometimes people are mentally unbalanced. They're going to come in and they're going to do these things, and this is going to happen. And we had an open Slack up until that point, which meant that literally anyone on the internet could come in. And that didn't work out. So, and I think that's part of the reason that it was so chaotic.
Well, during that time, did you have a moderator? Like, did you have a mod for Slack, or?
At that time, we got a moderator as a result of those incidents, actually, because then, we really thought that, some of us in the national coordinator circle had been doing it, but that kind of told us that we really needed someone to be doing it kind of like as a primary responsibility, because there was just so much chaos and so much distraction from the organizing.
Okay, because here's what happened. Those volunteers that were removed, they went on to Franco's show, they went on to Vanguard, and they gave very specific details. And they have screenshots of some of these, altercations. And at that point in time, I do know that Franco and Vanguard, they invited you to come on as well to like give your side of the story. And I have to ask this question, Nick. Why did you not go onto those shows to give your side of the story?
Well, I think if I was there again, I probably would. But at the time, it was just so evident that the way that it was being approached was as a smear. And in fact, we had put out statements that were correcting what had happened, the record on what had happened, setting it straight. And those statements were just completely ignored by the two podcasts that you mentioned. And so when we see that, or when one sees that, you have to kind of question the journalistic integrity and intent of an individual who would do so when we would say, hey, here's the statement that explains a lot of what you're talking about, and they would simply pretend as if it doesn't exist.
Well, I think the thing is, like, even if you have a statement, I think they wanted to hear it from like your mouth. They wanted you to come on and explain it yourself. And I think, like, looking back on that, like, I got to be honest with you, I think that was a mistake, like, not to go on those shows, because the volunteers, they had their story and people just kind of took it and ran with it, and people started to assume things. Like, people thought, well, maybe he is at fault because he won't come on. So I think, like, anytime like you have that type of message coming out and they're inviting you to come on, I think that you should come on and give your side of the story. And in reference to the journalistic integrity, I will say I know Franco pretty well, pretty close wise. Franco does like a lot of research. He's written like his first article about like the whole like vaccines and stuff like that. He does a lot of work, a lot of research. So I don't think it's fair to knock his journalistic integrity. I'm sorry, but like I think that's the wrong one. Like, that's somebody that does work really hard.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I do know that for a fact, neither one of them covered the statement that we put out in response to this. And so I do think that there is a question as to why was that done as well? Why is it treated as if we haven't responded? There are answers to your questions there. And so what is it that you really want? Do you really want to have someone come and tell it to you in an interview? Or do you want the answers? Are you interested in, the show? Are you interested in being able to put together a show? Or are you interested in really trying to ascertain the veracity of what happened? And that was the issue. But like you said, I agree with you. I think it was a mistake not to go on those shows, not to join the two of them. I do think that Franco has done some good work. If we were back there, me at least, it's not all up to me. I'm not a dictator of the People's Party, no matter what people may think. Otherwise, we probably would have been able to hold accountable some of our contractors and enforce basic reporting standards and have a membership vote on COVID-19 mandates. And so it's up to really the leadership of the organization. But if I was back there, I would be glad. I would gladly go and join those shows.
Would you go on those shows now if they extended the offer tomorrow?
Probably, if I thought it was in good faith. And again, it's not just up to me. I may want to go on, but there's a leadership that has to be convinced that it's in good faith. And in the past, they were not.
Okay.
For my part,
I want to move on to this question about the NDA. For people who are board members that are part of MPP, do they have to sign some type of a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes.
Okay. If they leave the organization, are they still bound to that NDA?
Well, yes. I mean, that's one of its functions.
Okay. Why did they have to sign an NDA? Is this to protect the organization or?
Well, ironically, it's to protect from situations such as what is unfolding and to keep them from being any worse. That is that there are a lot of personal matters that are discussed, personal personnel matters, perspectives, in a leadership body like the CC, the National Board. You have to be able to speak openly with your fellow committee members about, who might make a good volunteer to take a certain position, or, what we should do, how we should approach a particular situation in a state, and those conversations have to be able to be held in confidence. People have to be able to know that, okay, if one particular member of the leadership doesn't find, may have an issue with some of the things that a particular volunteer has done, maybe they've been name calling someone else, maybe they just don't seem like they're as adept on a platform as we're looking for. They have to be able to share that openly with the other members. Otherwise, you would kind of find yourself in like a perpetually gagged and paralyzed state.
Okay. There are questions that have come about the finances when it comes to MPP. It was reported that there was $20,000 spent on a logo. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a firm that we hired to help us produce a logo, and at the time, we didn't know that they, in fact, that one of the individuals who had suggested we hire that firm had previously worked with the firm. And so they ended up taking the product, the design, in a direction that was not what we were seeking. And so that's what happened. As a party, we make expenditures, some big, some small. I have to say again that if for anybody who's trying to start a political party, and any political party, you can go through and you can try to pick apart, like, why was this done? Why was this done? And then if those reasons ultimately add up to, oh, well, yes, I don't want a new party. I don't want Medicare for all. I don't want to end the wars. We're like, as we're having this conversation, two superpowers are like, 100 seconds to midnight. And so there just has to be kind of like a level of understanding, I feel, among people, that it's like every little controversy, and the left is so good at this, at just trying to cancel people or organizations for every little controversy, and really losing sight of the big picture, that is like, we have two parties that are destroying us. They're destroying us. And
I get that
unless
part. And I
we change.
understand. I get that. And I understand that. But $20,000 is a lot of money for a logo. Like that just,
it
it's
wasn't
part
just
of
a
my
logo.
job.
It was a full design package. It was full branding package.
Okay. Because part of my job, one of the things I do is like I focus a lot on the money. So that is like a thing with me. I do want to ask about candidates and ballot access. So at this point in time, has MPP run like any candidates for office? And if not, are there plans to do so in the future?
No, but absolutely there are plans. In particular, there is a really big opportunity, looking at the state of the country, to run, I believe, a populist presidential candidate. 2/3 of the country wants a major new party. Half of the country is independent. Only a quarter identifies with Democrats or Republicans. We see what these, there's been no recovery, let alone from the Great Recession. And then the other, depression that we had in the midst of COVID, which is basically continuing. People's standards of living continue to decline, no matter which party's in power. The cost of healthcare, the cost of education, student debt, all of it blows up. And so there is a massive opportunity. I remember when I worked in the Bernie 2016 campaign with Bernie Sanders, my job there was to try to win him support from the superdelegates. It was a miserable job. But they hired me for it because I had worked on other Democratic campaigns, and they thought, well, you've worked with the establishment of the party. Why don't you try to convince them to support Bernie? Obviously, they didn't have a lot of success. They were all lobbyists. They were all consultants. But there was a poll that I remember that showed that 65% of people wanted an independent candidate, even in 2016. And then there was a similar poll in 2000. Jesse Ventura, there was some kind of buzz about whether Jesse Ventura was potentially going to run, and there was a Fox News poll that showed that he was polling at 18% without even campaigning. And that's pretty remarkable, because that's enough to get into the debates. And so there's a huge, huge opening. And really, it's up to us as a populist, as the left, to get our act together and field someone to challenge these two parties. Otherwise, we're going to get, Trump, DeSantis, or Biden, or Harris. And, we all know what that leads to. And really, I don't know how much more this country, this planet can take. We're really flirting with existential risks now, to human civilization as a whole, let alone the country, when you're talking about genetically engineered viruses, the kind that were being experimented on at the Wuhan lab, that Fauci FOIA requests have demonstrated, and also when you're courting nuclear war, as is happening in Ukraine right now. So, you know, we can argue about minutia or talk about minutia or judge minutia like all day long, you know, all the way up until, you know, the nukes start flying or something happens. But, you know, and maybe as a species, if we can't get our act together before then, maybe we deserve it.
Are there MPP candidates running in this year, like 2022 or 2024, or?
Not yet. There are some potentially interested. We need ballot access in states. We have ballot access in 2 states, Virginia and Florida. You can register as a member of the People's Party in several other states, including Massachusetts, California, Oregon. But we don't have a slate of candidates for 2022 yet. And that means that they wouldn't be able to run on the ballot as a People's Party candidate. But in municipal races that are nonpartisan, there we could run People's Party affiliated candidates, and there's the potential that that we could do that. In my view, though, the biggest opening for us as a populist movement and as the left is really to be able to field a very strong presidential candidate that appeals to left and right in the way that Jesse Ventura did, and run a candidate such as that.
Can you run local candidates though? Like I'm thinking more so like not just the federal level, because I like to focus on the states a lot as well. So I'm thinking more so city council or school board or mayor or governor. What about starting on the local level? Is that something that could be done now, or?
Absolutely. In fact, in our last national organizing committee call just last night, there was an individual in Georgia who's considering such a run. And so municipal races are great as a way of getting a foothold, because you can run without having a ballot line yet, and potentially elect some candidates. But kind of going back to what I was saying before too, I think that where people are in this country, and I've been to more than a dozen states over the last 5 years that I've volunteered with the People's Party. And in all of my conversations, it's not that people don't want an independent party. It's that they really want to see a viable plan. They're desperate for it. They're desperate for an alternative to these 2 parties. And so I think that's the challenge, is people don't want to play around the edges. You know, things are so degraded and messed up in this country that people want solutions that are on the scale of the problems that we face. And that's why I think that the presidential campaign is really really the strongest avenue that we as a broader movement could take.
Okay. Have you spoken to Princess Blanding by chance? Because I had her on and she was an independent candidate. She ran for governor in Virginia. If not, I highly recommend you speak to her, because Princess Blanding had an incredibly difficult time running as an independent candidate in Virginia. They wouldn't let her debate, even though she met all the requirements. So she's a part of the Liberation Party, but I highly recommend, I can give you the contact info if you need it, but I highly recommend speaking with her, because Virginia is a very difficult state to run as a third party or independent candidate, because the rules are ridiculously strict. But yeah, I definitely recommend reaching out to her. So ballot access in Florida and Virginia. I know I know people are trying to get ballot access here in Massachusetts as well. So look, that was a lot of information put out. Again, like, I'm not judge and jury here, but I did need to ask those questions. And I have to ask this one as well, Nick. Like, given everything that has happened and the things that have come out, and even after this interview, I feel that even after this interview, I don't feel that this is going to calm down like for a while. So given everything that has come out, do you think it may be best for the organization as a whole if you were to step down as leader?
That's up to the organization, frankly. And the reaction that I've received has been the complete opposite. The reaction that I've received is that we are grateful to you for putting yourself out in a way that you become the target of these attacks. And that you do so knowing that whoever is in your position will inevitably face these kinds of attacks. That is the reaction that I have received instead, is one of gratefulness. And I'll also say that I know that even though I can intellectually know that whomever was in my position would face attacks like this, because we see movement leaders, Shahid Buttar, Julian Assange, New York mayoral candidate, many others. These kinds of allegations are weaponized against them constantly. And even knowing that, even though I know that intellectually, and even though I know that I haven't done anything wrong, it doesn't reduce the pain or the hardship of being a source of controversy to a movement that I love and to which I've devoted the last 5 years of my life, and the people who have believed and given to it and volunteered and everything they've done.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to be mean. I just, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I just had to ask that question. But one more thing. I know that your father is also involved in the organization. Do you feel that there may be a conflict of interest with the position that he has in the organization?
I don't, and neither does the volunteer community. The volunteer community, again, has not raised it, just like your last question. If there's such a feeling that there's something wrong with his position, he devotes countless hours, like I do, countless hours to helping this happen, to making it possible for us to get this far. And, you can see this conversation is a testament to what it takes and the kinds of challenges you face to do this work. We have an independent consulting firm called Stacey Owens and Company. They do great work, and they handle our finances, and they submit our reports, and they verify the finances. And in fact, as a 527 nonprofit located in Michigan, we are legally required to report all contributions over $200 and all expenditures over $200. And we go a step beyond that, and we put them on our website. We link to it, to the IRS website with the 990s and the 872s forms where we disclose this information. So the finances are open to everyone. And everyone is welcome to look through them, and that's why some people do come up with these questions about, why was this spent about that? Why was it spent about that? That's where that comes from. If it wasn't transparent, nobody would know that.
Right. Okay. Nick, I got to tell you, doing this type of organization, I know that it's really tough work. You got to be tough. You got to be tough.
Yep.
But thanks so much for coming on. I got 2 more news stories I want to get to tonight. But thanks for coming on and telling, your story.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me, Sabby. It's good to finally be on. Good to talk to you. I've appreciated and admired your work.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
I think I'm gonna take it. Hey, Eric, can you come on screen for like 10 minutes? I think I just need like a couple minutes. before I get to the next stories.
Gotta remember to pull
It's
my
hard.
mic
It's
down.
hard.
Gotta remember
Yeah,
to
it's
pull my
hard.
mic down this time so you can hear me.
Oh,
No, I
it's
feel you. That
it's
was a
hard
bit
for me
emotional.
when I see people cry. Yeah, it's hard. I just need a couple minutes.
Sure.
I'll be back in like 10 minutes, guys. Thanks.
All right, let's do this. Well, first thing I'll say, y'all, there we go, is hit the like. Got like 500 plus people watching, only 245 likes I see. So, so please do hit that like, and I'm gonna see if I can hit a few of these super chats. I know some of them were. Well, first, tell me if my audio's bad. I think I think it's all right. I got these headphones on. I didn't expect to be on, but here we are. I hope you all are enjoying the left chaos. And you know, the one thing I'll say about it is just people really need to keep in mind that there's a lot of things happening out there to divide us. My audio's a bit low. Oh, close enough. Well, you have to turn it up. Hopefully, it's not too bad. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening out there it's out there to divide us. And you know, the big challenge is really to you know, how can we move forward as a movement? You know, I feel like we need to figure out what our core principles are, and you know what our demands are. I'm kind of big on demands, and you know, hopefully, you know, that can lead us to really what we agree on. You know, and that should really be the important thing. And you know, one of my mantras is that it's you know, it's that top 0.1% versus the rest of us. And you know, I don't think there's any billionaires, you know, in our group at the moment. So we got to find a way to have some solidarity. And let's see, let's hit some of these chats and super chats. Yeah, we got Robin in the house. Robin's always a favorite, who works on those graphic arts. And always appreciate Robin around. We got JB around. Let's see. Of course, Delthea, who's, as we say, a Sabby Sabs member. Hello, E-Body. Some of the regulars. We got Notori. I saw Terrence out there. Good to see you. Lawrence Johnson. We'll hit, hey Lawrence, we'll hit JB again. All right. We have a super sticker from Abiding71. Thanks for that. We got a big super chat from Colin. Thanks for that. If you are looking to have presidential candidates run in the 2024 campaign, where has your presence been for the last year? MPP should be marketing themselves as a viable option to every indie media channel as possible. And I know this is a complaint I've heard Sabby make of the Green Party, in that they really need, you know, to be getting out there with more PR and just getting their name and their message known out there. I know Franco is in the house. It's good to see him. There's a $2 super chat from Mags, and you know, and some of these are going to be out to we're out to Nick, but he was on for a while, so we you know, I think Sabby asked a good set of questions. But if you're for the questions in super chat that we didn't get to, you know, apologies for that, but thanks for the super chats in any case. But this was to Nick Brana, so in effect you removed all political opposition. We had one from Renee, who was just on the show the other day, saying people making statements are not evidence. And I know this was in reference to what Nick was saying, that the other board members were saying. And there's certainly no shortage of he said, she said in all of this. But thanks for the super chat, Renee. I got to keep my eye on the live here too. I can give you a little behind the scenes of kind of what we do with the super chat in StreamYard. They have a feature where you can star the chats, and that puts them in a list that we look at later. And so we try to catch them all. I don't know how anybody does this on their own. Like I've jumped in there and it's like but at least with two people it's a bit easier. All right, super chat from Sophic Manatee. I like that. Thanks for the super chat. Is there a written statement or recording on the record that the public can find? And I think that can apply to a lot of things. Oh, is Sabby back in here to rescue me?
Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, I just been going through the chats. But for this one, yeah, is there a written record? I think we were talking about a lot of different records and things. That interview got into a lot of things. And but I know there's there are records out there. I guess it's a question of whether or not you're able to find the one you want.
Okay.
So how are you doing?
I'm okay. I just sorry guys. It's hard for me when I see people like cry on camera because I don't know what to do. Like I'm one of those weird people. I'm like I don't know what to do. I
know, and you feel like you've injured them. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I hope I wasn't too harsh, you guys. Like if I was in the chat, please let me know. But I had to ask those questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get into the two news stories.
All right, and we also still have super chats. I don't know if you want to do those before or after. I'm going to try to clear out the ones that I did. Playing around in the background here. All right. I think those are the super chats that are left that are starred.
Okay.
All right, carry on.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye, everybody.
All right, I am back. Whew. All right. Oh wait, did I not get to these? Renee, did we get to Renee's? Oh, I don't know how many of these were asked. Oh, maybe not. Did we do this one, Eric? Ashura?
Everything that's left still needs to be done. I started the ones I did. All right.
Okay, thanks. All right, Ashura, thanks so much for the super chat. Ask Nick, why did he say to Jimmy that it's for nepotism in the party by making his father the purse of the treasury? It's not okay for MPP to do so. Thank you so much for that, Ashura. Thanks for this one as well. Nick, are you using your friendship with Jimmy to cloud his judgment? When Jimmy was reading it, say you had a liberal vision and not progressive one. I have to go back and check. I don't know what that's about, but I have to go back and check that. Thanks for the super chat. Sophic Manatee. Sabrina's doing good by calmly breaking this down slowly and in little chunks. Great job, Sabby. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Theron, thank you so much for the super chat. Wait, he came to this interview and didn't bring evidence ready. Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you so much for that super chat, Theron. Renee, thanks so much for the super chat. Nick said they didn't pay longtime volunteers. Carol early started with him and they were paying her. Interesting. I would like to hear from her as well. Thanks for the super chat, Theron. He likes to use populist a lot. Does the word have any real meaning when he says it? Interesting. Thank you for the super chat, Lefty Engineer. So if board meetings are not recorded, how is there video evidence that proves there is a coup planned? I'm confused. Thank you so much for that super chat, Lefty Engineer. Again, I'll wait for those receipts that I asked for. Thank you so much for this super chat, Ryan. Nick, do you have anything to say about Black Voters Fort MPP group that were called racial slurs in the Slack meetings? I believe that's the one I brought up. If not, let me know, Ryan, but I think that's the one I brought up. Reefer After Dark, thanks so much. Oh, Reefer After Dark! Thanks so much for the super chat. Frank Analysis will still have him on. He says so in the chat now. So that's good to know. And hello, Franco. Sophic Manatee, thanks for the super chat. Where are the statements he's referring to? It's a good question. I'll wait. I'm waiting for that information. Hamza, thank you for this super chat. Franco, read the statement. Franco said, I just sent you a DM, Nick. I would love to have a good faith discussion with you about MPP. Okay. And Robin said, yes, 20K is reasonable for a whole identity package. That's interesting. So for those who don't know, Robin does like the graphic design for a lot of our stuff with RBN. She did all the graphics for the Women's Summit. So all of those promos that you see on Twitter, Robin did all of that. So she was an art director. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan Green. Nick blaming the Democratic Party and the Republican Party for calling people racial slurs is gross. Why does the People's Party bylaws call for super delegates if you hate them? That's an interesting question. Sorry I didn't get to these before, you guys. Theron, thank you so much for this super chat. Why does he talk about the left as if they are his people when MPP isn't even socialist? Words coming out of his mouth have no meaning. Oof. Thank you so much for this, Ashura. Why is MPP structured like DNC super delegates? That's a good question. God, my nose. Sorry. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Golov. Salty girlfriend is accusing this man of sexual harassment, trying to Me Too him without evidence, and everyone is calling him to step down. SMH. Well, again, if they decide to, come forward again, the invitation is open for them to come on here. Thank you so much for the super chat, Steve. Sabby, his pants were on fire. His pants were on fire. Oh, Steve, I know what you mean by that. Thank you so much for the super chat, Leon. Leon says, Nick is being a tyrant. This is an organization. Thank you for the super chat, Echo J. So appreciate you, Sabs. This was the best interview out of Jimmy, Jordan, and Jackson. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. That's a big compliment. I was hoping I'd do okay. Thank you, Robin said very professional interview. Thank you so much. Default, thank you for the super chat. Ask Renee what the way forward gilded server was. Renee, that's directed towards you. And thank you for this super chat as well. Have me on to expose who these reformers are. Default CMC, can you email me? My email is located in the description, the details portion of each YouTube video. Thank you so much for the super chat. Venom, Sabby Sabs is getting views now. Well, thank you so much for that. Spider-Man reference. Yeah. Spider-Man was my favorite superhero. Thank you so much for this super chat, Mr. Goloff. I enjoy your work, Sabby. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you. Let's go ahead and get into those other stories. I want to go ahead and pull those up. We need to talk about what happened to Chris Smalls. Now, this is totally uncalled for. Chris Smalls has been on this show before. He was a former Amazon employee in Staten Island. He was working there during the height of the pandemic, and there were a lot of things that happened there that was not protecting the workers. They didn't have PPE. So if you ever want to see that interview, it's on my channel. You got to go way back. That was one of my earlier videos. But this happened recently. Let me go ahead and pull up this video. And Status Quo was actually the one that captured this. They've been with the Amazon protesters often. Chris Smalls, here it is a year later. He is still out there actively fighting the fight. He has protested at Jeff Bezos' home. Actually, all of his houses. Not just one home, all of them. He has been there protesting, and he's not giving up. So recently, this happened. Let me pause this really quick. So listen to this. This is from Status Quo, exclusive footage. Amazon whistleblower Kristen Smalls, who was fired in 2020 for organizing for 19 Safety, and is now leading Amazon labor union campaign for JFK 8 Staten Island, surrounded by NYC cops and arrested for trespassing despite offering to leave premises. Now watch what happens in this video.
Told you I'm a visitor, right? And I've asked you to leave the property. But I'm a visitor.
You're no longer a visitor, so I'm asking you to leave the property.
How are you determining whether I'm a visitor or not? If I wasn't wearing no AOU shirt, if I didn't have no cameras here and plain clothes, would you know that I'm a visitor or not?
Chris, I've asked you multiple times on multiple days.
No.
Please leave the
haven't.
property.
Don't say that, because you haven't seen me in multiple days in a row. Don't lie. You came here once last week.
So what's your business here?
I'm a visitor.
With who? What are you doing here?
I'm visiting with him. They work here.
How long have you been here for?
A few minutes, 20 minutes maybe.
I don't know
20?
exactly how long.
20 minutes. I'm a visitor.
So now I guess you can't sit outside of Amazon facility now. The guy sitting next to him on this metal picnic table is a friend of his, and his friend works at Amazon. So just keep that in mind. Like, this is free open space. The only reason, and he's right, the only reason they are coming up to Chris Smalls is because he does have on that AL shirt on. He is a well-known Amazon protester. That is the only reason why they are coming up to him. And watch what happens after this.
Visitor. What you want me to do?
All right, listen, we're going to ask you to, on behalf of Amazon, you're right now.
You're protecting Amazon now? You work
I'm not
for
protecting anyone. You're trespassing. So
how am I
I'm not
trespassing?
protecting
That
anybody.
sign says visitor, right?
You're on private property right now.
So again, Amazon asked them to come remove him. So this is what I've told you before. Police protect capital. They protect business. They protect corporate. They do not protect the people, not in the way that they should. So here we go.
Private property. You don't work here.
I'm with him. I'm a visitor.
It's very simple. You don't work here.
So he said it's very simple. You don't work here. So you mean to tell me the only people that are allowed to come on Amazon property are people who work there? Really? Doesn't Amazon at some point or another have meetings with people who don't work at Amazon? What if you were applying for a job? Only people that work at Amazon are allowed to be on the property? I would really like to see that if that's like in their documentation anywhere on their website. I would really like to see if they have that written somewhere that those are the only people that are allowed to be on the property.
Okay.
You don't work here. You're trespassing on private property. So
I'm visiting. I'm leaving when he leaves.
So you're refusing to leave?
No, I said I'm gonna leave when he leaves.
Are you refusing to leave?
I said no, I'm gonna leave when he leaves.
Okay, when do you leave?
Well, I'm allowed to be on the property as long as I want.
Right. I'm gonna leave when he leaves.
So we're gonna ask you one more time. If you don't,
Yes.
we're gonna ask you.
It's also my time.
We're gonna ask you one more time, and if you don't leave, then we'll place you under arrest.
How you gonna place me under arrest?
Trespass.
But I'm a visitor.
It's very simple. It's either you leave Amazon's property or you're placed under arrest.
Okay, we can leave. We can leave?
Yeah.
All right, let's leave.
But why does he have to leave?
He's
though?
trespassing.
Do you arrest all your visitors?
No, arrest all your visitors now? So y'all not discriminating,
Hey,
right?
yeah,
I just want to make that clear. Like,
We have protected the law.
oh, y'all protected the law.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
so that sign don't say visitor, right?
Visitor for what? You're here to press charges, correct?
The press charges on what? There's no
If somebody
charges.
was trespassing.
Who's trespassing though?
So the sign says visitor, and he's there as a visitor. He's friends with the Amazon employee. So how is he trespassing? Now, this police officer is pointing to the other gentleman saying that he's going to press charges. Press charges for what? You guys see the problem here? And people want to give police more money? For what? Don't they have other crimes that they should be out trying to solve? Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. They don't really solve any crimes.
Okay, are you going to leave, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
I believe when I believe when he
Are you
leaves.
going to ask them if they're employees or visitors?
Yeah, you want to ask everybody
Yeah,
over here? Are they
are
employees
you?
or
How do you
visitors?
decide
Right.
who you can talk to? How do you know
Right.
who's employee and who's not?
You've had a precedent.
No, he ain't got no back. He ain't got no history. The only history he got is he's the most fired to you.
You told me to call the cops and you weren't leaving. I asked you nicely to leave.
Right, I try to do what you got to do.
So that's why we're here. He told us.
So did you go up to every visitor and tell them you're going to call the cops?
We come to every job they want to go to.
So this is a 911 thing. So we can get that right now. You wasting y'all time and y'all money because that sign says visitor.
Sir, I'm not here to debate. We're here to enforce the law. He wants.
So you're gonna make sure you enforce every bit.
He wants to press charges, and we
press charges on what?
Trespassing, violation, trespassing. It's a summons.
Violation.
Yes.
I'm not trespassing.
You're trespassing.
It's a violation against the national agreement with the NLRB.
Are you leaving yes or no?
Yeah, so yeah.
So if you're not leaving within the next 2 minutes, you could be arrested.
You have 2 minutes. You're on the
Let me ask y'all a question.
Rosado, you can't do that. That will be a violation.
Yeah, remember me?
I'm giving you.
Last time with them over there.
And then y'all drop the charges.
I'm giving you a minute and 45 seconds.
Cipriano?
Separado. Deputy Inspector Separado, the commanding officer of the 121 precinct.
That's fine.
You know what? We're gonna request a meeting with the Commissioner Kishansu.
Okay.
Forget about that. Like I said, if I was dropping somebody off the work, what would I be considered, a visitor or trespasser?
Yeah, you drop me off each time.
I drop them off every day. I drop them off.
That's a good question. If you're dropping someone off for work, would you be considered a visitor or a trespasser?
As a visitor.
If my mom came and waited here for an
As of
hour,
right now,
she
we're
would
not
be
talking to you because you
trespassing.
told you to leave. If you fail to relieve in the next minute, you'll be arrested.
You already know.
So many.
Yes, Rosado.
I'm talking to him.
So you have 60 minutes. You have 60 seconds, actually.
If I was dropping them off to work, what would I be considered? A visitor or a trespasser?
Can you answer that
No question. No answer, right? Y'all not enforcing
No
law.
answer.
Yeah, no.
No, they're just being
This is
biased,
exactly
but
what
they
you
shouldn't really
do.
be answering
And this
the
is
question.
discrimination.
If my mom came
Yes,
and
Zach.
waited an hour for
All
me,
you-
that
all
wouldn't be
you do is
trespassing. She would just
protect
be
your
waiting an
property.
hour for
That's
me.
all you do.
That's what the,
You don't
that's what
protect the
law enforcement
people.
does. That's what law
Okay, so then protect all the property here. Make sure that
Make sure
every
y'all
single
ask
visitor,
everybody-
every single visitor
Everybody
needs
over
to
there,
leave
ask
them.
everybody.
It's all right.
Please, I don't know.
You're the one who came up to here. Don't do that. Don't do that.
He's not.
You came up in my face. Don't do that.
You guys don't even have masks on.
Right,
Like, come
like, y'all
on.
think-
If you were
y'all
so
just-
worried about
y'all
somebody
came
being
over
so
there
close to
constantly.
you.
Look, I'm gonna leave because I told you I'm gonna leave.
Thank
Like,
you. Thank you.
that's all you need to know. Y'all got to babysit us.
No, we're gonna wait until you leave.
I can't leave until he leaves. He's the driver.
Well, like I said,
He's the driver.
you don't leave.
He's
You
the
have
driver.
30 seconds.
You have 30 seconds, or you're getting arrested. 30 seconds.
You gotta make
If
sure
you
that
do
every
that-
visitor,
if you do that-
every visitor that's on this property, you're gonna make sure
You
that
want to
they
arrest me for
leave.
what?
You're gonna make
What
sure
is the
that they
charge? I'm not trespassing. I'm a
Trespass.
visitor.
Trespass.
I'm a visitor.
10 seconds.
So you're
Cipriano, if you do that, if you attack him, that'll be.
You put hands on him. He's putting hands on him.
No.
He's a worker. He works here.
Hold on. Put your hands off of him.
He's a worker.
No, y'all not doing this.
What am I under arrest?
All they do is
Wait, no, are you resisting it? That's resisting arrest.
y'all are fucked.
Once you
Let me go. Let me go. I'm not gonna resist. Oh, y'all not doing it.
You're gonna make
What
sure
is
that
the
they
charge?
Watch how they escalate the situation.
I'm not trespassing. I'm a
Trespass.
visitor.
Trespass.
I'm a visitor.
10 seconds.
So you're
Cipriano, if you do that, if you attack him, that'll be.
You put hands on him. He's putting hands on him.
No.
He's a worker. He works here.
Notice you can hear him in the background saying he works here, he works here. So it looks like they're trying to arrest the employee as well.
Put your hands off of him.
He's a worker.
No, y'all not doing this.
What am I under arrest?
All they do is
Wait, no, are you resisting it? That's resisting arrest.
y'all are fucked.
once you
See how that situation escalated? What a waste of resources. 5 cops for one person. Let me show you who Chris Smalls is. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. He's a fighter. He doesn't give up. Now, I learned about him last year when he first started to organize the workers at Amazon. 5 facts that you need to know about Chris Smalls. Let me get to the 5 facts. Small organized a strike at JFK 8 and Amazon warehouse. Smalls was fired after 5 years at Amazon. That was during the pandemic, by the way. So people did raise money for him because he had to feed his family. JFK 8 is one of Staten Island's largest employers. You can see the facility there. Small said Amazon workers are afraid of their lives, afraid for their families' lives. So like I told you earlier, during the height of the pandemic, they were not giving the employees PPE. Employees were coming to work sick. They complained to HR. You guys, you know about HR. They complained to them. They complained to the mayor of New York City. They complained to Governor Cuomo. Nothing was done. So they had to take it to the streets. And 5, Staten Island was hit hard by the 1-9, and that's true. Chris Smalls, probably one of the best organizers out there right now. He was also in Alabama to help organize those workers as well. They were trying to form a union in Alabama. Yes, Amazon is evil. I'm going to go on to the third story. I did just realize the time. I didn't realize it was this late. So I was talking for a long time, I guess. Let me go ahead into the next story. Guys, please follow Chris Smalls on Twitter. His handle is, let me pull this up. Because he's doing like great work. His handle is Shut Down Amazon. Let me put it in here. I'll pull it up here as well. So this is Chris Smalls on Twitter. Handle is at Shut Down Amazon. President of Amazon Labor Worker-Led Union based in Staten Island, JFK 8. And a bunch of other numbers and letters I'm not going to go through. Shut down Amazon from its unsafe working conditions. Chris Smalls even puts his email here so you can contact him if need be. His recent tweet of late, why I love this union, waited over 6 hours for us to get out. And we went right back to JFK 8 to feed the night shift. So right after they got out of jail, they went right back to work. They hit the street. They went right back. This is what organizing looks like. So yeah, let me put his handle here. By the way, Jeff Bezos is very well aware of who Chris Smalls is. He also tried to smear him when Chris Smalls was organizing. Tried to say that he wasn't intelligent. They say stupid shit like that. All right, let's go into our final story. And this one is about breaking points. They gave some cringe takes about Russia and Ukraine. I've been meaning to get to this story. There's 2 timestamps I want to go to. So let me go to the first one. Now, this is the part about Biden. This is so cringe. This is so cringe. Listen to this. They might as well just be MSNBC now, man. They might as well just go that route because I can't. And they're not on the Hill. They're not a part of Rising anymore. They're not corporate. So they really have no excuse now. They really don't. Listen to what they say.
and he gets all sweaty. I'm sure
He knows he's messed up.
He's going to get beaten a little bit longer.
I want to, on that point about the Biden administration's relative restraint as compared to what, I saw Newt Gingrich out there saying, it's Chamberlain all over. The Putin is Hitler comparisons.
Please people go watch my Chamberlain monologue.
Please do. Definitely do that. And here's what the Biden administration is officially saying. This is from a senior Biden admin official. More sanctions coming tomorrow, but won't say if Russian peacekeeper, quote unquote, moves into Donbas count as an invasion that will trigger the massive sanctions promised, and notes that Russia has long had a military presence in that area.
Exactly right.
So they are preserving their ability to hold back the biggest sanctions. And also, that creates some.
What was interesting to me is that she mentioned Biden restraints. Oh, Blue Moon, she said the same thing. Well, Joe Biden has demonstrated great restraint. Really? Get out of here. Joe Biden couldn't wait to start another conflict. This is what he does. He's a warmonger. He didn't wait. 1 month before he started issuing airstrikes to Somalia? He couldn't wait. So get out of here. I'm going to show you something about that, why she's saying that, why she's trying to praise Joe Biden in just a second. I'm going to show you something. Listen to the rest.
One of the things Putin said in this speech is, hey, I think they're going to sanction us regardless. So this is the Biden administration trying to signal, no, actually, there is a chain of escalation here. Our response will depend on your actions. Whether or not they believe it or whether they intend to, go further and, the full invasion scenario that's been painted by the U.S. intelligence community, we have no idea.
We simply have no clue. And we should also say this. I am very happy to see Europe actually stepping up in this and taking the stronger hand, because it is their problem. There ain't going to be no Iron Curtain over here. Let's put this up there on the screen. Immediately after the Putin.
Let me go to my second point. I'm going to show you that Biden thing. Let me get to my second point.
Productive sectors of their economy. And the thing about oil is you got to sell it to somebody else. Yeah, you can use some of it, but with the global markets at the way that they are, he has put himself across Europe and still maintain what fundamentally he knows is a weak and a dying country. You have demographic decline dramatically over the last 25 years, economic contraction, full-blown oligarchy, that has taken across the entire Russian economy. And at the end of the day, the only valuable thing that Russia has is oil and gas. Now, obviously, oil, it's the third largest oil producer in the world. I'm not going to lie, but they don't have very productive sectors of their economy. And the thing about oil is you got to sell it to somebody else. Yeah, you can use some of it, but with the global markets at the way that they are, he has put himself in a very vulnerable situation. And what reminds me of this is that the idea is that authoritarians and states are actually most dangerous on their decline rather than on their way up. Because think about this, Ukraine is a country of 44 million people. They actually are fairly dynamic economy-ish. It's very corrupt and all that, but they have a large youth population, more of a connection with the West. They're educated. It's actually would be a coup in order to add those 40-something million people to the Russian, nation and the Russian Federation, I guess. And so the way he looks at it, it's a way in order to lash out, use the nuclear power, obviously with his ambitions at the end of his life, and try and restore some dignity. And I'm not saying it as if I agree, but in his own eyes as to what is happening. So that's kind of my read on the situation. But I think this is awoken. What was the phrase that Yamamoto said? It was like awoken a sleeping tiger or something.
Let's go back to this statement one more time. Pay attention to what he says about Ukraine and watch me debunk it.
West, they're educated. It's actually would be a coup in order to add those 40-something million productive sectors of their economy. And the thing about oil is you got to sell it to somebody else. Yeah, you can use some of it, but with the global markets at the way that they are, he has put himself in a very vulnerable situation. And what reminds me of this is that the idea is that authoritarians and states are actually most dangerous on their decline rather than on their way up. Because think about this, Ukraine is a country of 44 million people. They actually are fairly dynamic economy-ish. I mean, it's very corrupt and all that, but they have a large youth population, more of a connection with the West. They're
Nah, bruh. Nah. Let me show you something really quick. Let me come out of this video. Let me show you Ukraine's economy. Let's see what this really looks like. Now, this is comparing Russia and the Ukraine side by side. Doop-a-doop-doop-doo. Watch this. I don't know if he confused the two or what, but this is what you're looking at here. Let me make this a little bit larger for you. Is that large enough? Yeah. Russia and Ukraine. Let's go line by line. See, here's the thing. Some of my students were from Ukraine and some of my students were from Russia. My students that were from Ukraine did not want to go back to the Ukraine. My students that were from Russia wanted to go back to Russia. Listen to this. Listen to this. Okay, budget revenues. Russia, 416.80 billion. Ukraine, 55.74 billion. Russia's budget revenue is ranked 12th, 7 times more than the Ukraine. The Ukraine's budget revenue is ranked 51st. What is he talking about? Everybody see that? Let's go to the next line. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to budget surplus. Budget surplus for Russia, negative 0.1% of GDP, ranked 41st. Budget surplus for Ukraine, negative 4.4% of GDP, ranked 129th. Budget surplus or deficit. You see that? So Ukraine has 44 times more than Russia when it comes to the deficit. Let's go to the next line. Let's talk about debt. Debt, government debt, public debt, share of GDP. Russia, 12.2 CIA, ranked 139th. Ukraine, 38.8 CIA, ranked 93rd. 93th. Okay. 3 times more than Russia. Do you guys see this? So, what? Guys, like I told you, I know people from Ukraine. They don't want to go back. All of them have told me they don't want to go back. They want to work right here in the US. There's a reason for that. It just, you look at these numbers again. Look, budget revenues, 416.80 billion for Russia, 55.74 for Ukraine. Russia is ranked 12th. Ukraine is ranked 51st. Let me come out. Thanks so much for the super chat, Brathwaite. Russia has the highest concentration of natural and strategic resources of any country in the world. Its territory goes over 18 time zones. Thank you so much for that super chat. It just, People are talking about this situation as if this just happened overnight. It didn't just happen overnight. This has been going on for 8 years. And for Crystal to say, "Oh, well, Joe Biden has demonstrated restraint." I'm like, you've been simping for Biden a lot lately. So I did a little bit of research. Someone sent me this, and I think this is something that all of you need to see. If you want to know why Crystal speaks the way that she does, we should have been paying attention all along. Let me show you this. Look at this. Now, somebody sent me this. This is from her 2017 book, Reversing the Apocalypse, Hijacking the Democratic Party to Save the World. Crystal Ball is a total fraud and has always been. Look, this is from her book. So this isn't something that Sabby is assuming or making up. This is a book that she wrote. Now, this is from 2017, not that long ago. And let's remember, Bernie Sanders ran in 2016. This came out after. And these are her words. I freaking love Joe Biden. What? Come again? What? I freaking love Joe Biden. I'll say it again. This is her book. This came out 2017. Bernie Sanders ran in 2016. Let's go back into this. This is crazy. This is insane. This is insane. I freaking love Joe Biden. I love the way he is willing to resurface his grief over his own deep personal loss, even if it can help a room full of Gold Star mothers begin to heal. I love that even after 40 years in Washington, he still manages to connect to that uniquely American visceral pain over losing the family home. Bullshit. And I love that he and President Obama clearly love each other so much. You guys see this? I thought and still believe that in all the ways Hillary Clinton was a poor fit for a moment of economic fear and anxiety, Biden was a great choice. Come again? Come again? Biden was a great choice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wonder why you're hearing the talking points that you have been hearing lately from some of the people who claim to be left independent media, who supported Bernie Sanders, who supported Nina Turner, all the progressive candidates are now starting to simp for people like Joe Biden. All we had to do was go a couple years back. It was there all along and we were not paying attention. This is in her book. She's always been a Biden bro. You see what I'm saying? So was the Bernie thing even real or was it just a grift? Her book, not mine. It's funny because obviously he was the vice president and he'd been in the Senate since he was 29 years old. But even over all that time, he's always managed to connect. What? Oh boy. Oh boy. This is who they've always been. 2017. It was there. All that time. That's why they're clapping for Biden. I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat. Oh, I think some of these are repeats. Okay, let me go to... Damn, Sabby went in on Crystal Ball. No, people need to know. Like, is this true? I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Because people have been asking, like, why do they have these talking points all of a sudden? Maybe they always had those talking points. They just didn't do it on camera. Shout out to Mr. Golov for the super chat. I love your work, Sabby. Thank you so much. Shout out to Anthony Berg. Spider-Man was your favorite superhero. Yes, he was. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. He had his own song. Shout out to Chris Wingler for the super chat. Amazon needs to be made public property. Ooh. Aya says, Sabby, enjoy a nice cold beer after this live. Okay, sis? Racy said the problem with Nick interview was Sabby demanded evidence from him, but took the accusers at their word. To make it right, interview the accusers. Yeah, so I said at the very beginning of that stream, I reached out to all the parties involved. The accuser was also invited on this show and is still invited on this show. But right now, they do not want to come forward. So not even so much of me like demanding evidence. I didn't expect someone to have all that information right then and there, but I'm just saying, like, if this is documented somewhere, send it to me, you know? Delthea Simmons said, what restraint? When the two bullies on the block meet, restraint ain't what's at work. No. He's always been a warmonger. Shout out to this John for the super chat. The U.S. goal was to strengthen NATO and have members fall in line. Unity is in every one of Biden's speeches. No Nord Stream 2, no co-op between Germany and Russia. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Ashura. Both Crystal and Kyle are fakes. I tried to tell you guys. Y'all see it now? Thank you so much for the super chat, Ashura. Crystal hasn't offered receipts for her pack. I wasn't going to get into that story, but you are right about that. That's a whole other story. I'm just clicking these off here. I'm getting close to 10 o'clock, so I'm going to have to sign off pretty soon. And then thank you so much for the super sticker, Aberdeen. I don't know why I can't. I guess I didn't star that in time. But thank you for that super chat. I can see the sticker up there. Aberdeen 71. Thank you so much. Anywho, you guys see it now? I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. Roger Meadows in the whoop whoop. Thanks so much for the tips on Rockfin, Roger. Last April Fool's Day, you sent me the following message. This country was built on slave labor that frankly continues up to this day with prison labor. I personally believe that reparations are just and necessary. The party's decision will be made by the members. They will vote on the platform at the founding convention. End message. You finished your platform before you took a vote on this. Also, what's the update? I don't know what that means. Thank you so much for the tip, Ronnie. My mistrust of Nick comes about due to there being 0 candidates in 5 years. I don't know what went on behind closed doors with the infighting financing, but his dad being treasurer is an indication of endemic nepotism. Thank you for this tip, Gene. Great job. Tough interview. Thank you so much. Thank you for the tip, One Love. Sabby Sabs received a tip. And thank you for this tip as well, Roger. You said he took it to de Blasio. He took it to Cuomo, but did he take it to Letitia James, the AG? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Chris about that. Also, we are still working on getting rid of qualified immunity statewide, but that would be the first step to just be able to get into court. It wouldn't be coming after the police pensions just yet. It'd just be getting in the door of the courtroom where it is now, where the judges just throw it out as it stands now. Thank you so much for that. Bro. And thank you for the super chat, Brothwaite. The Ukraine situation is all about trying to prop up the declining petrodollar and American empire. Nord Stream is a threat to that. Thank you so much for that. Booby booby doop. Thank you for this tip, Roger Meadows. Hey, Spider-Man was my favorite too, but I think that picture was a Venom. Yeah, it was a Venom, but it reminded me of Spider-Man because that was one of his foes. Check by the Democracy Preservation Act email. We are trying to get passed in New York, Sab. Okay. Yeah, I know I got a lot of emails to go through. I've actually been really busy getting things ready for the Women's Summit. So if you sent me an email, I'm sorry. I know I have not responded. Um, then they've kind of piled up over time, and I've just been so busy. But after the Women's Summit, things should settle down a bit. So yes. Yeah, gamer for life. You know what's up? Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Da, 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 da. Yeah. I love Spider-Man. Yes, guys, tomorrow is the Women's Summit on Sabby's podcast. Come back here tomorrow. Don't forget, I know I'm not usually live on the weekend. I will be this weekend, 7:15 p.m. tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m. Sunday night, Eastern Standard Time. If you have not had a chance to see the people who are coming on, they are powerful, strong women. They have strong voices and they have a lot to say. So if you are one of those people that have not seen that, I'm going to end with this promo vid so you can see who's coming on tomorrow. I am super pumped, super excited. Some of the women coming on have never even met each other before, but they may be in the same spaces. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see who's paired up with who. I don't think I've seen Kim Iverson and Marianne Williamson on the same panel before. Tomorrow you will see that. So that should be really interesting. The reparations question was meant for Nick. Oh, okay. Thanks, Roger. I'm sorry. I screwed up. Going into the video here. This is who's coming on tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to see guys at this event as well, not just women watching this. We need guys to be allies for us as well. So I really hope that you all can tune in or catch the replay. By the way, I'm eliminating the chat to subscribers only. I'm not trying to have a bunch of trolls during this event. These women took time out of their schedules to participate, and I really want to be focused on the discussion. So here we go. All right. So some people were asking no chat tomorrow. No, there's live chat. You'll still be able to chat. But if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you'll receive a notification that says only subscribers can participate in the live chat. And that's to weed out trolls, honestly, because during these kind of panels, I don't really have time to pay attention to trolls. So no, you don't have to have, there's no paid subscription. You just need to be subscribed to my YouTube channel and it'll tell you that. So if you try to type something in the live chat, you'll get a little thing, a little message that'll say only subscribers can chat. And then you can just click subscribe to my YouTube channel and then you can chat. So there's nothing to pay for. Yeah. No, I wouldn't make people pay to chat. That's kind of messed up. Oh, that would be capitalist to the T. Thank you for the super chat, Marianne Cummings. Thanks so much, Sabby, for your fearlessness. Too many lefties just giving up and keeping their heads down. Good on you for covering Chris Smalls. Thank you so much. And thank you for this super chat, Donnie Nunn. You should bring Scott Ritter. He knows a lot about Ukraine. Someone else told me that the other day. I'll have to look him up. And thank you for this super chat, Roger Meadows, telling everyone me and Medea come from Freeport, Long Island. That's true. Medea Benjamin, she's a co-founder of Code Pink. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization or not, but you'll find out a lot about it tomorrow. I know a lot of people have reached out to me and said they just want to get involved. They want to do something. Well, Sunday is the activist panel. So you're going to hear from a bunch of women who are activists and the organizations that they're affiliated with and how you can get involved. So there's 4 panels: women's health, women in the workplace, violence against women, and women activists. So hopefully you guys will learn something this weekend. We're going to talk about possible solutions as well. This is meant to be educational. I think we need to have these discussions. We need to talk about this. You're going to learn a lot, especially about women in the workplace, because there's some things that I think we could do as women that we just naturally, for whatever reason, we do not do it. Like negotiating salary. Why is it that women are less likely to negotiate salary? You're going to hear from Sarah Lashever, and she's going to explain to you why that happens and how you can fix it. So, should be fun. I think I got everybody. Guys, thank you so much. Jean said, Sabby, you did really well tonight. Thank you for being so professional. Thank you, Jean. Thank you. It is what it is. Guys, I got to head out. I got to go. It's almost 10 o'clock. Spider-Man. All right, guys, have a good night. Keep up the fight.